Welcome to the Smoking Word. Welcome to the Smoking Word.
What's up, everybody? Once again, the Smoking Word is back and brought to you by CasaDeRock.com. You know the deal, you know the rant. You hear that shit every week. That's my merch house. Everything is done in-house by yours truly. Make sure if you want to support me, support the show, or if you just want to look good, go there and cop some merch. To celebrate 2021, we made every t-shirt $21, and we actually got a couple of prints for $15 because we're trying to make room we want to make room with the old to make room for the new. So you know the deal. And make sure to follow me at Hoya Rock 357 on Instagram. Keep you up to date with everything Madball. You know the drill. Casa the Rock and the Smoking Word. And everybody, I want you to go at the Smoking Word podcast on Instagram right now. You could hit us up if you have any questions, anything you want to say. If you want to curse us out, but you're gonna get this back. You could hit us up there. And if you have any questions, you could also email us now at the Smoking Word podcast at yahoo.com. So again, if you got any questions you want read on the show, or if you got any questions for me, or if you want to just, shout anybody out, make sure to hit us up on that. And also, I want to give a shout out to Warlock Cabinets in Massachusetts. I got something in the works, everybody. So, but I'm just going to give you I'm going to give you a little taste as we, as things move on with that. And I also want to give a big shout out to my brother Scorp and Monster Music. A lot of motherfuckers got a lot of things to say about corporate companies, this, that, whatever. But shout out to Monster Music for fucking looking out for more hardcore bands than so-called hardcore labels and all that other shit. So, yo, Scorp, what up? See you soon, and Viva la France. And I also want to shout out all our listeners all over the world. America, we feel you. And also all my German, English, all my French, Belgium, all my brothers and sisters around the world. We see you listening and tuning in. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, spread the word. You know the deal. Yeah, and I want to thank everybody who tuned into the last episode. I had a blast with my boy Roy. If you didn't check that episode out, make sure you go back there and peep that out. And we got a lot of cool episodes. And I've been working on a lot of new content about to drop on our YouTube channel. So don't sleep on it. Just right now we just have the podcast up, but we're about to do some special shit on there. So keep up to date, follow up, subscribe, follow the movement and all that good shit. And since we're celebrating Women's Month, I figured who better than everybody. Welcome to the Smoking Word, Kate 108. Let's set this shit off.
To the Smoking Word.
How you like my funky background, right?
I got a really boring background in here because that's all I got.
No, the difference is because, what do you call it? YouTube and Spotify don't sponsor you like they do me and paid for a multi-million-dollar studio, as you see that I'm in right now. With all this high tech, look at what, as I disappear into the background.
I guess I could make myself look like I was in like Hawaii or something.
No, listen, right, but I just figured out how to do this shit, and I said, fuck it, I don't give a fuck how it looks. I'm gonna do it.
It looks good. I like it. I thought you had like a cool background. I was a little like, I'm in the conference room at Equal Vision, and it's just like a gray wall, and I was like, should I hang something?
No, that's all right. So before, I usually have my son's awards behind me, and people all say, oh wow, you got so many awards, but they're not mine. So they think like I'm in my den or something. I'm like, no, I'm in my room with my son's fucking awards. But
Cool enough.
But yeah, what's up with you? How you been?
I'm good. I've been like it's interesting because I've been working again at Equal Vision, which I say by again I mean I never really did.
Uh, but you got no choice.
Yeah, I mean usually I teach yoga, so that's kind of set on hold for a while. They've been doing a little bit more, so I can't kind of came back and started to do. I started like the week of the whole week of the shutdown because tractor trailers of t-shirts got dumped on our loading dock, literally. So we were like, Steve's like, I need help. So it was just he and I for a while, just like taking stuff off the trucks and
Yeah,
counting stuff back
yeah.
in.
So the when this, I'm so tired of this COVID shit, but it is what it is. It happened.
Yeah.
When um, obviously we've talked throughout this whole shit a little bit. We've always kept in contact, so I don't want to act fake on this and be like, "Hey, how you been?" We haven't spoke because we've kind of kept in touch on what's going on, but not in detail. Um, when this shit happened, obviously everybody felt it in one way or another. But
Yeah.
and for everybody that doesn't know, you work at Equal Vision. You're part of Equal Vision. And besides teaching yoga, so you guys have the what do you call that now? It's a record company still or a merch company?
Yeah,
What,
well, we
what do
have like there's two parts to it. One is like we have Equal Vision is still a regular record company. It's kind of like mostly does like post-hardcore stuff, which is um I never went post-hardcore. I stayed hardcore, so I don't necessarily like know all the new bands and stuff, but I hope none of the new bands are listening to that because they might think I should know. Um, but yeah, and then we have merch now, which is like so originally we just started making like seriously back when in the loft where I saw you and like
yeah.
whatever where we hung out in 1994 or 5, we started printing t-shirts and then like so we kind of just grew it and then we when it got too big we divided it and then we have a giant warehouse, which is where I am right now. Um, and we
Yeah.
have like something like 80,000 square feet of shelves of t-shirts and then we have a print shop, which is like pretty giant. There's like, I don't know, I think there's like 7 or 8 like presses running and we have a direct to garment and all that. But I didn't really work here ever. Like I own half of it, but
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You work on paper. Your name's on the
yeah,
paper.
that's on the
Yeah.
paper. So yeah, but I never really worked here. I was a mom and then I taught yoga and then but then when this whole COVID thing happened, it was like we had to shut it down. So only Steve and I could be in the building.
Mm,
And the thing was we couldn't really shut it down because we had just shipped like pallets and pallets of t-shirts to bands on tour.
uh,
And then their tours got canceled and then the t-shirts have to go somewhere. So
oh,
they
okay. So you had nothing to do with Equal Vision before this COVID? I mean,
not really.
obviously
Yeah,
you talk and you got input and stuff or whatever, but in general, you weren't working there at all.
no,
You were just doing yoga and mom life.
that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah,
obviously,
no, I didn't really like I honestly really I really didn't do anything. I would come at Christmas time and help ship mail order
yeah,
when there was like a rush or whatever, but I wasn't involved in the business like pretty much at all. It's really all Steve.
yeah,
He did all
and,
of this. And
yeah.
then
He's an animal. He's a workhorse,
he's
and
kind of a crazy workaholic animal, actually.
yeah, and also, but so I mean, so how did this screw that up at first? Was it that you couldn't have your workers in the same building? What was it that how did you guys get screwed at first? Or were you able to bob and weave at,
We
now
actually
we found our ways, but at first, what was the bumps you had to take?
Well, it was weird at first because we actually had no template to follow. Like we had no
Exactly.
clue what was going to happen. We just knew that, March 5th or whatever, we every day we're shipping out tons and tons of stuff and we have, like I think I don't know, we make like the knocked loose stuff or like, different tours that were about to go out. I mean, sure they have other people doing their stuff in Europe and stuff. Like a lot of hardcore bands make merch with us.
Yeah.
And so we had just shipped it all out to them and they were supposed to be on tour. And then when the clubs got shut and everything, and then manufacturing got shut in New York State. So our business, we closed down. And we thought it was the right thing to do, but we still had to do something about UPS didn't stop. The post office were, so they just kept backing these giant trucks up to the loading dock. So I said to Steve, also I was a little panicked. I mean, we all were. I was like, what am I going to do all day?
Yeah.
So the kids were all home. Freaking John Joseph called me at like 11 p.m. and our daughter lives in New York. He's like, you got to get her out of here. Like, she has to get out of the city now. It's gonna go into shutdown. And I was like all fuzzy about it. So
Yeah.
she came home from college, and then and my older daughter, who's an introvert who loves social distancing so much, it's like her dream come true. She was safe in Philadelphia. So I didn't really worry about her. And then we kind of all just like hunkered down. And then Steve and I would just go, the two of us, and we just received all these shirts, and we're counting the shirts back in. And we didn't know what we would do with them. We were like, if you haven't ever been to a t-shirt company, you can't really picture, but you get these like 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot, like square boxes of t-shirts, and they were just piling up. So we sold them all. That was the good news.
Yeah.
So and I have to say, it gave me lots of kind of hope and faith in the whole music industry in general, or music fans really, because they stayed with the bands and they backed them and they bought all their stuff. Because all this, stuff says like, whatever, March 2020 tour. Probably those shirts will be worth something.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I'm glad too. Everybody, because a lot of the I don't, I say, I don't say fans. I hate that word. I really
I don't know what it is.
I know. I always say, I always try to say our family, our fam, or whatever you want. The people that follow us, all the hardcore people, the movement itself. They definitely stepped up. And I gotta say, with my merch stuff, and everybody else has their merch stuff, and if it's following the podcast, like everything is gaining momentum, and people been stepping up, following, helping the bands out. You know what I mean?
And we were like, wow, this shows that the music for them is much more than some type of like consumer product, but for them, they stayed loyal. And it's so interesting how everything is connected, because when there's no tours, that like every single person I know was completely affected in one way or the other, and it's like, I'm sure everyone's sick of talking about COVID, and my best friend Kari just goes, I'm so fucking sick of hearing about COVID, because someone was talking about it. I was like, me too. But it's impossible to not, it's just so interwoven. But anyway, so then we kind of started to reopen, and we offer jobs to anybody that, one thing is we do mail order. So when bands like, order, when you go to like a band's website and you order like whatever it is, Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah.
They're one of our big.
Hell yeah. Shout out. Listen, I don't hate on the Juggalo Nation. I don't hate on anybody, because
no, exactly.
Because people looked at us the same way when we were kids, looking, the way we look. So.
And so like they basically wait, what was I saying before? I said Insane Clown Posse and got
about doing this, with the t-shirts and everybody sticking with it. And
they just people kept ordering stuff, and then like mail order. So mail order, you go to like insaneclownposse.com or whatever, and then when you mail order, it comes from here. And we ship it out. So the mail order went crazy because people were stuck at home. And we had then my best friend, she came and worked. And then like, we were just like 4 of us doing the work we used to have 100 people in the warehouse. We were like, there's like that shows you like a tally of the number of orders pending. And for like about 4 months, we couldn't get below 25,000.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like, even though we're shipping these, and so like it's been weird and interesting, because I taught yoga, and like, just like, you guys tour, like Madball's like one of my favorite bands, and I can't wait to see Madball, and all these different bands. Like, I love hardcore. So, but like when I'm not doing that, when I'm not doing that, I'm like at some girly yoga thing, like chanting or something. But I was still like touring around. I was like going to different countries. I was like, the, it's kind of like a similar in some ways, except that they feed us really nice organic food and we sleep in these really clean beds and stuff.
Yes, that's way different than a Marvel tour.
I know. I've done the other too. So I'm like, so every once in a while, some fucking tableau player is like complaining about touring, and I'm like, you're literally in a retreat center eating like 3 organic meals a
Exactly.
day,
Yeah.
sleeping on
Chilling.
this fluffy, So yeah, so I was a switch, but it's been kind of great for me because it's been good for my relationship with Steve. I mean, we had a good relationship before, but it's interesting
Yeah.
seeing actually really knowing how hard he's been working, and I just gained that much more respect for what
Yeah.
he's built.
Ladies out there, I want you to hear this. I want you
I
to
was
hear this.
like, that's
Listen,
why he doesn't pick up the phone all the time when I call, and
listen,
I'm like, honey,
ladies.
guess what? I got a new
Look,
pair of clogs.
look at. I'm all for girl power. I love it. I had the strongest woman running my family. My mom's. I'm a big fan. But ladies, it's okay to give props to the men out there. It's okay. You're not gonna take it your worth. There's gonna be no worth taken from you. Me too, you too, all that. I hear you. But us too, the
But
fathers and
it's interesting because I don't think I really got what he was doing. He'd go to
yeah,
work and then he would come home. But like what he's doing is like, he's usually here like about 12 hours a day, and that's been forever. So that's really what it takes. And when this happened, he was like working on the loading dock. There's no jobs. We don't have like a division of labor where there's like fancy jobs and
yeah,
not fancy jobs here. Like he's on the loading dock.
yeah.
We're hauling boxes. Now we got Mike Judge working in shipping.
Shout out to Mike and another thing I want to say to you guys and a shout out to Steve also. I ain't blowing nobody up, but I know he gave a lot of people work, of our people in our world work, and that's
Yeah,
that's big. That's big, and and he ain't a guy that is on Instagram saying, "Yo, look what I did." I know, so
yeah,
and he's that type of guy, which I like, and I know for a fact how he's helped other people we know in our world, and how he would help our bands. Like I was about to say, because you were speaking about what he does in the whole merch world. It's I know from just doing it out of my house, you got to be like a psychologist, a
yeah,
psychiatrist, and all those psycho things. It ain't just selling T-shirts, because dealing with bands, dealing with different moods, dealing with people you like, dealing with business. It's all, you got to learn how to bob and weave, because I'm
absolutely.
on such a micro level, and some people make me want to kill them. So I
Right.
don't
And
know how.
it's interesting because just to print a t-shirt, like as you know, because you have a merch company, and I'm like, I'm literally wearing a New York hardcore shirt.
Yeah, you go. Listen. Shout
Not
out
a day goes by where I'm not
to.
wearing Casa de Rock. Seriously, I
There you
feel
go.
like I'm like sponsored by
There
you.
you go. Yes. That's why I said, to celebrate Women's Month, I
Yeah.
said, let's reverse the roles, and I'm gonna get my cherry popped by a woman. And I said, who better than Chakra Khan? So I
Yeah,
said, let me get you.
people
And
don't know that you have a nickname for me, and that's my
yeah,
nickname.
exactly. Everybody, that's Chakra Khan, and with your chanagrams, I got a lot of whatever words for your whole shit. So we're gonna
That's
talk
good.
business.
I want to hear them. Maybe we can.
Now
Maybe
we're
you
gonna
can
talk to
listen.
Steve. Yo, Steve. We're gonna talk to some business.
I went
But
from I was Kate upstate, and before all that, that
no,
was my
I know Kate 08. I never heard of Kate Upstate. That's a good
yeah.
one.
Kate upstate was like the first nickname.
But yeah, but
Then
you're
I went from
actually
the Lower East Side, and everyone was like Kate LES, which didn't
yeah
sound
yeah.
as short.
And it's funny because you know it's like everybody. I don't see color. I don't see gender. I don't see whatever. But I never thought about it. And then somebody was like, "Yo, why you don't have any girls in general?" And I'm like, well, there's not a lot. I'm like, yeah, I know some. And then I'm like, okay, all right. And then I said, it's Women's Month.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
That's
And then I
awesome.
said, but I was like, like, because I don't think of it, and I just go down the line. I was like, all right, who I got, and I think every day I forget. I know a lot of people that are cool people that I want to bullshit with.
Yeah,
And
well,
then,
I mean, I was psyched. I mean, for me, like, you know, as a lifelong hardcore kid, basically, I mean, you're like iconic in the
get out of
hardcore.
here,
I
get
want
out of.
to hang
You
out
can
with
say
you.
handsamic, I'll take that, but I don't want to hear that.
But yeah,
But
I mean, if you want to, like, it's an interesting thing. I have done a lot of podcasts because there aren't actually a lot of women in hardcore bands now. That's
exactly,
changing. That's changing now. But like, I was thinking about like when 108 went on tour, we did like 60 dates. That was when people used to do 60 dates,
yeah,
and it was like 1992 or three, and there was one other girl in any of the bands from
yeah,
playing 60 show, and hardcore bands have 6 8 bands.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I don't know why, for me, I don't know why that is. I don't know why more women didn't get in bands. I'm always trying to crack the code of that, and that's shifted now. But
Yeah, you know what I
hardcore
think.
go
You know what I think is back then. The guys were still really gorilla with probably not giving the girls a chance unless you were really outgoing girl. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like you had to be the really crazy skin chick or the crazy, to them to all right. And then guys back then wouldn't give girls that much. I know it's just it's real. It's not no
yeah,
bullshit. You know how it is back then. It's yeah, women always had a part. And women were always there was always a girl in a band, but there was never a bunch of them. And a lot of the girls in the early days. Well, when I say early days, I don't mean early days. I started going to shows in '88. So to me, early days are the AF guys and all that shit. I know from even when I started coming to shows, there was always girls, but it wasn't the official hardcore girl kind of like now yet. It was still a girl who might have been, she was a goth girl. She was a skin girl. She
yeah,
was a skate, a punk rock. It kind of was still not officially we're hardcore. You were a hardcore girl because you loved hardcore music, but you still were like, new wave, Susie and the Banshees, but you'd go to an AF show. It was so weird back then. And then it became all of a sudden, but there was never a lot
no. I
which
had to
was
like import friends from high school. I'd be like, you should like hardcore so we
yeah,
can go to the show together or something, because there weren't a lot of other. And I think part of it is, and this is an interesting thing, but and this might not be as true now, but like the music's really aggressive. The scene was really
yeah,
aggressive. So like, I mean, I was always like played aggressive sports. Like I would have played hockey if I could have, if they
right,
had now they have
yeah,
hockey for girls,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I played basketball, and like I mean, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I was like, just like really fucking aggressive. So I was really good because I
yeah,
out aggressioned other girls at the sport. So like but it was interesting. I was thinking back, there wasn't like a type of fashion. So
yeah,
I just looked like a boy. I had like
yeah,
I kind of like, had like a whole skinhead thing like for a couple years. And then when I was like transitioning out of that, I just looked like, I don't know, I just had to like motto my thing off of like, side more like camos or something.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it was still becoming a thing. Like
Yeah,
all right, everybody now we know the joke. Like all right, hardcore guy, basketball shorts and the thing. Okay, that became the stereotype and the look or whatever. But before that, there wasn't that. It was still a hybrid, like you said. You might have
yeah,
wore camo. You might have looked more punkish one day. You might have looked skinish, like a skin. Yeah, one day the skins look like a rude boy. That rude boy the next day comes with a hoodie. Like it was,
right.
you
It's
know,
funny
it,
because I don't know if you know this about me, but in 10th grade, I went to Germany to be an exchange student.
no, you mentioned that. That's what I was gonna say. So, first, growing up, when you grew up upstate, where you at, like in the area you at now, that's where you
I
grew up.
actually was. So like, it's interesting because I like where I lived upstate, I'm like the how I got into like hardcore music and punk rock music was people in our area in upstate, like a lot of like, not a lot at the time, but some people would have their summer houses from the city.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was a girl who she still lives in Brooklyn. and she was like a punk, and like she basically like I mean, I knew about it. I was interested. Like anything that I saw that was like punk rock, I was like, I want to be that. But I actually met her when I was like 9 and she was 14, and she was already like a cool punk. And this was like early 80s. So she took me to the first time I went to like she took me to Danceteria when I was 12. So it was
Wow.
1985.
That's a classic spot right there.
And then she took me to CB's. I was when I was 12, so it was like 1985. We didn't stay, and then but then at 1986, like I saw there was like Black Flag was playing in Albany, so I was like I went because I wanted to like find this music. And then at that time it was like Dave Stein, and he was going to college in Albany, so there were like
Yeah.
lots of cool shows. And I saw, I saw Agnostic Front. I saw like 7 Seconds. I saw
So
Freddie. And nine
so
years.
yeah, so because of her, she got you into going
She
into the
got me
pub.
into like the concept of music, and she gave me
Yeah.
like I had like records from her, and then she somehow found Dave Stein's like I think it was Dave Stein. I actually don't really know, but it was like SUNY Albany punk rock radio show. So I would like
Ah,
tune in on my radio. I was like living in like rural outside of Albany, like not even like on a farm, like literally on like a hippie farm. And I was like tuning in to hear hardcore music. And I was really into like the Clash and Stiff Little Fingers and all this punk, stuff. And then like got into hardcore like then. And then the shows were happening in Albany. But
yeah.
I met Steve when I was in 8th grade actually. And he
Okay.
would take van loads of kids to the Rock Hotel. And somehow my mom, I guess because Steve looks like such an all-American kid or something, I'm like, Mom, can I
She's
go to the
like,
Rock Hotel with Steve? And she would like let us. It seems so crazy. I was like at somewhere between 8th and 9th grade or something, riding in a van like with a bunch of punks from Albany to the city, and like
great.
no seats or anything. The boys were like moshing around the van, and Steve's like, "Calm down." And then I could take the train to the city, so like I had like a routine where I would like go to the Anthrax on Friday. Like I had older friends that would drive or whatever. That was a little later, and then even before then, I was too young to go to CBGB's. I had to make myself a fake ID out of
Yeah.
my brother has the name Terry, which is like androgynous name.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just cut out a little picture of myself and got a piece of packing tape and like made myself a fake ID because they started having that rule that you had to be 16 to go to CB's,
Oh yeah, I got thrown out many times. The funny thing about it, I got my ID. I'm really actually proud of this because it's a little bit of old New York. I got mine's on 42nd Street in Times Square in an alleyway. I had to sneak in the alleyway, and I had these older black dudes. They look like pimps, but they were like, "Yo, IDs," and I was like 15 years old, and you had to be 16.
Make me 16.
And then I go, I said whatever it was, 18 years old, and I never forget this. We literally, there's porno movie theaters. It was still like that, and then we're like, we went, yeah, we went in an alleyway. It was like a movie. Me and my god brother, an alleyway. The guy pulled out a camera, the old school camera with a big ass flash. Right, he took the picture, and it was pretty expensive for back then, like $25. Back then, $25. Like, you kidding me? I was like, all right. And I remember I gave him the money, and he goes, "I'll be right back." And he left, and I'm like, "Yo, did we just get jerked?" Because I was already kind of, I wasn't gullible, but I was like, man, did we? And we literally waited like 15 minutes, and we're like, "Yo, we got robbed." Fuck. And then he comes up, he's like, "Yo, I got you." Comes back, it was really cheap looking, but it was laminated, whatever. Yeah. And I ended up using.
I don't think they gave a shit. I think they just got bust, because my thing looks so sketchy.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I've seen her,
and then
I would see her grab it and test people. "What's your birthday?" I would be like scared to death, like, "Please don't ask me, because I'm gonna have to flip."
Yeah, well, that was like a big thing. It was like riding the train, memorizing your fake birthday, and
yeah.
I mean, I went there before they had that rule, and we just went in.
Yeah.
And I do remember one time I remember one time seeing like and this could be just a totally like I feel like this could also be like some type of like fake memory that I've
I,
created. But
oh, that happens.
I
I do that all
remember
the time.
Sammy rolling out of a bass drum. He
Well,
was so tiny. He's my age, but you know, when you're a girl and you're like 14, you look
yeah,
like a woman. But and
yeah.
Sammy looked like a
A
little
little,
baby.
oh
And
yeah, Freddie used to go when they used to bring him in
yeah,
on the same way on kick drums and shit. So
yeah. Like, and then I don't know. I mean, obviously they knew they were in there, but I think it was just all part of the charade that they had to do to keep it open.
so when and you met Steve early on, and when you met Steve, was it was the hardcore romance right away, or
No,
you knew each other for a while before?
so it wasn't the hardcore romance right away for him.
You're like, for me,
Well, I mean, he was like I mean, he
he was
was
a
kind of
hardcore
like the king of
heartthrob.
the scene, and he was like this big, jacked up, cool, like handsome, like he ran all the shows. But
Yeah,
I was like a ninth grader. He's 7 years older than me, so
yeah.
I mean, he would have been not a thing. And he had all these cool, like awesome, like all the girls that I thought were like, oh, I want to be cool like that, like metalhead girlfriends or like cool chicks or whatever. And I would try to like, I was like, should I be goth? And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
Steve Reddy will love me.
Exactly. My point again, goth, these were the things in our world, that there was
Yeah,
certain looks, the punk girl, the new wave girl, the goth girl, the skinhead girl,
yeah.
and then it
Now
all became
it's like,
hardcore kids.
yeah, and then I guess what happened was then he like joined him and Ray Capo joined the Krishnas, and they like went off and did that for a while, and then the summer of like I was 18, I guess, and he kind of like left the ashram and he went to Lollapalooza, and I freaking bumped into him, which is amazing because there was like 70,000 people there,
Yeah,
and he
coincidence.
was with this he was with this metal he was with this metal chick. That was like his flavor, I guess. And then that, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And he just goes, "You grew up." So I was like,
Yeah.
"Got this." And then he literally like he like wrote my phone number down with her eyeliner, which
Oh,
like
first of all, that's like it sounds
that's
like
some
some Motley
seriously
Crue era shit, like in the
90s
parking lot.
romance. And then like then so we didn't date right away, but like we kind of started to be friends then and stuff. But I've I known him I knew him all those years and stuff. But I mean, and then I was like I I was like interested in Krishna stuff already. So like, for him that was like important, I think.
Yeah.
So it kind of like was just a good match. But also we knew each other. Like he did know me.
Yeah.
And actually the joke was he said to some woman that he used to date, like, oh, I'm kind of dating Kate Kinlan now. That was my name. And she goes, it used to be hard to tell that she was a girl. I was so like skin-headed out, and I was like
Yeah.
so straight edge, like
Yeah.
like whatever, like a champion sweat. I don't, I had nothing to model
Yeah. Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
on. I just had to make it up. There was, so that's
Yeah.
like
That
kind of our joke now. But 30
and
years
then
later, almost, I guess now I'm turning 49 in a couple of weeks, and we've been together since I was 19. So it was a good match.
that's amazing. I don't think I know. The only relationship I had that long was Freddie, and I tell everybody in our relationship he's the woman. So I always gotta say,
No
I gotta,
comment.
yeah, I tell everybody, but he's the girl. But yeah, no, and also that's and then all right. So you were saying, and I know you mentioned it. You told me, I knew that from before, and you just mentioned it. You went to school in Germany. Now, was that before Steve or after Steve?
That was no, so that was like I knew Steve, and then I was only in 10th grade. So I went to Germany, but it was like interesting because it was the first time like I was like all like dressed like a skinhead, and it was like the first time that I was like, "Oh my God, there's like skinheads in Germany in 1987, 88 were like white power."
Yeah.
And I didn't want to align myself with that, obviously. But there was like this other there were like these other the punk scene there had like these other subgroups. They had like
Oh,
rockabillies and
yes.
psychobillies, and like
Squattabillies
they had
and
all these like,
yeah.
whatever things. And then like I had like kind of like a fringe, but then I just like made it into a little spike. And then everybody thought I was like a psychobilly and I could take myself out of
Yeah.
and the kids in my school, and they were like, the German kids in my school were like dressed so cool. Like they were like, and I was like, but there weren't like a lot of shows then. I mean, I was also in southern Germany in this kind of rural area, but
Yeah.
I did see some, I try to go to shows and stuff like that. I wasn't like near Berlin, and like it
Yeah.
was sort of before like Sick of It All and all those bands started going to Europe. So, for me, I just like listened to music at my house, and like, I went to any kind of shows, but a lot of it was like kind of like weird ska music and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
Like, yeah, real alternative to his music.
yeah, but it was cool to see like that, like, I'd only known like New York hardcore or whatever like that. It was cool to see like how it was like forming and transforming. Now, like I when you guys go play, you play in the city like where I used to, like right near where I used to live and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like I actually hope that when you go on tour again, I can just go back and like hang out, travel
Yeah.
in Germany and stuff, because I really like, I love Europe and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And a couple years ago, I just like rented a car and just like drove around. Like I went, Zurich and all the different places just to like hang out where I had been as a teenager, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I love Europe. I mean, that's our second home.
Yeah.
I could speak for Freddie, on this. We grew up there basically. We've been going there our whole adult lives, and even more than ever, this was the longest we've been away from Europe and even off a stage in 26, 27 years.
And the European hardcore people, they're like, they make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is another reason. They're one of the main reasons I hate using that word fan, because I get it. I know what a fan. When people call themselves a fan, I don't stop them and say don't call yourself that. But why I don't like to say that, because to me it's more than that. It's like a lot of these people. I explain this to people. I go, I've seen them. We've been around long enough, and thank God we're lucky enough to be around this long. We've seen them come to their first Madball show. A couple years later, then come with their, if they're a girl or a guy, they come with it. Oh, look who they're dating. Then they come back. Now they're married. Now they come back. The girl's pregnant. Now they come back with their child, and now the child is coming by themselves. We've been around long enough where now the children are coming on their own, and the parents are still into it, and they're coming together. And I'm like, I never met more loyal hardcore people, I should say, than I have in Europe. America has a great, we have a very, very small, but the diehards are diehard. But in Europe is like what we have here on steroids, with real legit, people that have their heart and soul into the music, into real underground, hardcore music,
Yeah, and I think like I don't, without generalizing too much, I feel like there's a type of like jadedness where Americans like always want to be cooler than the last thing, and like they're not just like hanging out in the coolness of what they've created, but there's
Yeah.
something about Europe, and it's like the old world, and they're like, this is cool, we love it, and they just like kind of, it's just, I feel like there's not this like jadedness where they have to always one up or something, and
Yeah.
they just, we had our first thing where we just signed our friend's kid's band, which is like our first version of that in the States, which is like this New Jersey hardcore kid that was like his name is Lenny, and he took lots of hardcore photographs, but he, you know, has been going to shows forever, been our friend forever, and his kids started a band, and they're actually good. They're really good. And I'm like, I can't believe it, because I remember when the kid was born, and two of their, like, the singer's a girl bass player, and she's the daughter of an old friend of ours, and the guitar player is the son of an old friend of ours, and they're called Reaching Out, and they're like, actually,
Wait a minute.
I was like, all right, I'll listen to your kid's band, and I was like,
But hold on one second. Reaching Out.
yeah,
My Beto, who was in my band, his son's in that band. Yeah.
his kid plays drums, right?
No, I'm guitar.
His kid plays guitar.
They're
Yeah,
from
I know
Jersey,
that.
right?
I knew that. Yeah, and I forgot about that part. And it's like Lenny Zimkiss's kid, and
Yeah,
and
man, listen, I can't pay my kids to even look at one of my videos or whatever. I was telling Beto that too when he was talking about his son. I was like, wow, it's cool. Your son is,
yeah,
he's playing guitar and this and that. my sons, you don't understand. Like the only people I want to impress, with anything I've done is them. And
Yeah.
I throw all my bells and whistles at them, and they don't even they want no part of me. They like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Could I leave
Yeah.
now? And they go back to playing fucking.
Well, maybe when they're older they'll get it, but I don't know. I don't think my kids think I'm very cool at all. And my kids have also just like kind of grown up in the hardcore world. Like all the adults that they know are from hardcore. So
Yeah.
occasionally at college, someone's like freaking out. And
No, but hold up. I'm gonna stop you there.
okay,
Your daughter who came to the show? What, she's the youngest?
Budgie, yeah,
Okay, she may not say, "Oh, you may not hear it." Like my mom's the coolest, or my parents. But how can you not like? I think it's cool when like, cause she likes the music, and how can you not think it's cool? Like, hey, look at they're involved with it. So you may not hear it, but she, and that's what I mean. Like you get to see like, oh, let me hook you up. You could use your
right,
resources to hook them up and like, look, and it makes you feel good for hooking them up.
yeah.
Like
They I think like they get excited. Like my older daughter doesn't get excited about it. She's got her own thing, and she's actually
yeah,
like really into like weird, interesting underground hip hop and all
yeah.
this different stuff. She's like got a really cool taste, but I like it. She's got a good taste of music. My middle daughter was just the one you met, who's
Mhm.
like, she's like a million times more tricked out now than when you saw her. She's just,
Yeah.
every time now she's got all these facial piercings. She just sent me, Mommy, guess what I did with the birthday money? She got a
Yeah.
fucking giant sword tattooed from her sternum to her below her belly button. And I
She's
mean,
the
what
wild
can
one.
I say,
She's the wild one. She's the
you
wild
just
one.
showed me that today, and I was like, ah. And then my son is like super into skateboarding, but they meet other kids. Like Budgie works at this record store called Limited to One, and it's like all like like super rare records. And like people come in there and they're like, oh my God, like the guys from like whatever Cro-Mags, or like
Yeah.
John Joseph, or like whatever bands she knows. And she's like, she realizes now that it's like cool and a big deal, and she's
Yeah.
like, but they're still your kids, so they still, especially when they're like teenagers, they gotta be
Yeah.
like,
But
Mom,
yeah,
stop.
like the closest I came, but it's still like, okay, they could act as cool as they want, but you want to go to the show. Yeah. You could get in and you still
Yeah.
know, like, okay, they're not showing it, but they're psyched about it. The closest I got to anything with my sons was there's some I'm Fallout Boy.
Yeah.
They have some song. It was some song my son would listen to. It was on some video game. And I would hear this fucking song and it would drive me nuts. And then one day I seen like on YouTube or something, it said Fallout Boy. And I said, oh shit. And I go, hey, Jay, come over here. You know them? Yeah, they were in a hardcore band. You know what? Yeah, those guys like all our bands. And I looked at him like, kind of like, what do you think of me now? And he was like, can I go now? And that was it.
Well, it's
That was
really
it.
funny because like I guess the guy from Fallout Boy also plays drums in Race Trader, who we played with.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you look familiar. Like
Yeah.
I don't like I'm like, my daughter says maybe you're in a band she likes. And he's like, Fallout Boy. And I was like, oh, like I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, because they were in
dorky.
a hardcore band. A couple of those dudes. Shout out to Fallout Boy. And throughout the years, even with Hazen Street, we kind of crossed
Yeah.
paths, and then we found out like, there's hardcore kids sprinkled everywhere. You know
Well,
what I
the
mean?
the cool thing is like that dude just like plays hardcore shows with
Yeah.
with like he never like lost the ethic. And I was like, wow, that's like so cool. Like I feel like for me, like hardcore was so much about the ethic. Like
Yeah.
it was about the community and the ethics. So like I just had to do this whole thing where I talked about 108 records for 2 hours. And I was like, at the end of it, I had the thought of like, in some ways, that's secondary to the fact that there was this whole world of like
Yeah.
unbelievable people. And I'm going to give a shout out to all the dudes in hardcore, because I was thinking about like all the men in hardcore, and they were boys then, but men, they're just like it's like being in this like giant wolf pack of alpha males. Like it's kind of like there is no other place like that. Like
It's true.
every person is like an incredibly brilliant creative. Every guy is like, they're smart, they're funny, they're like self-starters. They start things from scratch, they create things, they write music. And then like if you're like me and you have to learn, like you're like, okay, I'm a mom and I have to go to this kindergarten meeting, and then you meet like you see what the men are like outside of hardcore, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, no, believe me, I see it from my perspective. I'm who I am. There's no taking the gorilla out of me, and I love it. But I'm the one. Again, being a single dad, I got to do a lot of these things that will get split up usually. So if there's the PTA meeting or whatever these things, I'm the one going to there, and it's pretty funny because I get nervous, like because I usually, my experience in school wasn't good, and I get nervous for no reason. And I realize, why am I getting nervous? I'm not,
You're like your trauma's rising to
yeah,
the
I swear to God. And then I'm there, and I'm trying to be all like proper because I know I look crazy, and I don't want people to think my son is getting raised by a savage. I'm like, so I'm doing everything very proper, and I'm like, no matter what, I know I look and talk different, and I watch it. But I see some of these.
Yeah, I know. It was like
people.
our daughter went to the one that came to the Madball show. She's like a huge fan of L7, and she liked the
Yeah.
other bands, but she went to this. She decided she was going to go to this like really high powered women's high school, we were like, if you can get in, you can go, right?
Yeah.
And it's in Troy, which isn't far from here, but it's really famous. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg's granddaughter went to school with Budgie, and like Natalie Merchant's daughter was there with her.
So
Like
it's a
all these, like,
full-blown girl power school.
super girl power school, like Jane Fonda
Dangerous.
graduated.
Dangerous. That's very dangerous.
So she get herself in, But it's
Uh-huh.
like it looks like Hogwarts. It's in this like castle type thing. And then Steve and I would like go, go to events there, and we were like, should we like what like, and the thing that you realize when you get to that level, like the people are psyched to have like whoever's grungy punk
Yeah.
rocker people, like because that's when they really get it. And like
Yeah.
I feel like there's this thing that like in the hardcore scene you have like these, like it's so normal to have like everybody has written a book, everybody has started a merch company,
Yeah.
everybody like toured the world, all this stuff is just like we just accept it as totally normal. But if you were to like tell the average person that even at that like really fancy school with these like famous people's kids, they're like, holy shit, you started your own company, you wrote a
Very.
book, you have like a merch company. And it's just like I just feel like one of the things that's been so great about this time period where we aren't just touring all the time, and like, I miss that like living in the moment type of thing. But we've been able to kind of sit and reflect and talk about all these different histories and hear all these different personal stories. And I know I listen, and Mike Judge comes over and tells me, oh, you got to listen to this one, you got to listen to that one, or he's like in one room over and he sends me links, is to actually recognize what the like incredible contribution of the people from the hardcore scene is to like all of what is
Yes.
happening in art and music in general. And it's kind of remarkable. And also the life experiences of the average hardcore person, it's like other people are just like, I mean, like every if I ever described like to the yoga world like what I did with my teenage years, they're like, you have to write a book, you have to
Yeah.
write a book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was just normal, we got on a train, we like didn't see our parents like for days, we
Yeah.
slept on people's floors, like,
Yeah. Yeah. It
you
sounds
know
like last year for us.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
you are totally right in how you put it. Like, yeah, exactly. Like to reflect. That's what happened with me on this. Like, not with me personally, but like I reflected on not just myself, but like what you're saying. Man, how far I came, and seeing where people in our world are and what are they doing, and like again, like what you guys did with you and Steve. I was like, man, look at that. These guys came up doing, a record label, putting out merch, and not to a point when there's a global fucking pandemic or whatever, and work is scarce. They're able to give people, work, and from the people supporting the bands, the guys that were working, everybody who's been working throughout this, they've been supporting the bands by buying merch. Seeing people step up. It's
you really
easy.
get to witness the kind of goodness
Yes.
of humanity, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow. And also, I'm like, wow. It's funny because like hardcore is just this like loud, crazy mayhem, but when you sit down for a second and you start to figure out and talk about what that has meant for so many people in terms of like their total connection to like mental wellness or their
Yeah.
community or their like, for me it was like the portal to find like my spiritual practice. Or it's
Yeah.
funny because I then like transitioned from hardcore into yoga, which is like all women and it's like soft and everybody's like love,
Yeah.
before the Madball show, I took Mike to this vegan restaurant that was near like when you guys played in Poughkeepsie, like whatever, a year and a half ago. And we walk in and there's like one of the other yoga teachers I know, and she extremely beautiful, this woman. She just goes, "My heart is so full seeing you here." And like he was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, no, that's just like how the women do it,
Yeah.
that's how we do
Yeah.
it. But I mean, guys, I feel like in hardcore you have that. It's just like chest bumped against each other
Yeah.
thing, but the meaning is the same. And so I hung out in that world, which was like almost like flipped. So there's like two guys in that world. But I see them like, for me, they've somehow come all together because it's the same. That world has like sort of the feminine version of hard. It's not loud and crazy or whatever, but you have a lot of women who are these like super powerhouse. So I kind of needed that, especially like when my kids were, growing up, because I just didn't know any other women, and then you kind of need women.
Core balance.
You need
Everything
women
is
to rub
balance.
your kids with,
The
basically.
older you get, you realize balance, how important balance
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Too much of one side. Like I said it somewhere else before, I was like, it really is like a fucking surfboard. You lean too much to one side, you're gonna fall. You gotta ride that shit in the middle, and that's what it is. The same. Like I tell, I'm a spiritual guy in my own way. But you want to believe in a heaven, there got to be a hell. You know what I mean? And you need one to one feeds the other, and you need one for the other to be real. That's how I see things. You know what I mean? If you like,
Well, I think that's confirmed by like pretty much every spiritual path. Otherwise, if you don't have that, you don't have any free will. So what's the role of humanity if you're not like trying to use your free will for good? So like it's interesting because we were just talking about this because there's this like that thread that runs through all that. And for me, I so badly needed that like super loud, super aggressive music. It just like, and it's funny because when people now hear it, they're like, what is this? And I'm like, for me, it's like this angelic,
yeah.
like I need that sound of hardcore. For me, like it lights up every cell of my being somehow. I don't know. I can't describe it to other people, but like,
Yeah,
when
no,
I'm
for
listening,
sure.
it's like,
Anybody, music does that to your soul, and any hardcore kid knows, how hardcore affects us. Because hip hop affects me a certain way. But nothing affects us like a hardcore, our favorite hardcore song, or that one hardcore song that
yeah,
just hits you. Nothing is gonna do that. That's a spiritual moment right there,
I think so.
for sure. Because you can't explain it. It makes you feel a certain way. It makes you think a certain way. You feel something, but you can't touch it. I mean, what more? I mean, that's like,
Right. And it makes you have this thing that like everyone's trying to do when they're meditating, which is like it empties the mind.
yeah,
So it's like if I think about like, and this doesn't always happen, but like if I see a really good show, it's like after 40 minutes, you're like your mind is free.
yeah.
And
No,
I feel like that's like the kind of the gift of what hardcore gave me. Like I haven't found it any other place in such an authentic way. And I mean, hardcore is also like many of the prominent like meditation yoga teachers are all from hardcore because they like hardcore was like somehow it was like a gateway for them to that. So I do think it's true.
because like it or not, aggression, anger is a part of us. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. So guess what? We all have it. The sweetest person, Mother Teresa, banged her toe at one point and said, fuck, oh God, I don't care who it was. King Krishna, the Monkey Queen who you told me about, the Monkey King. I don't care if it's Jesus Christ, Buddha, a coconut banged them in the head. Something happened where they got angry. And that's what I try to tell people. I said, you don't have with hardcore music, you might not like it, you might never want to hear it again. But if you ever got angry, you might be able to appreciate it, because everybody has that emotion where you want to break something, you're angry. Well, guess what's the soundtrack to that?
Right. And I think that there's I was just reading this famous female Buddhist meditation teacher, and she was saying, a lot of people talk about spiritual life like you're climbing a mountain. She's like, it's not like that. It's like going down into a well, and you go down into the well to be in the darkest, heaviest places, to face your anger, to face your emotions. And she's like, we don't try to ascend up. We go. And I was like, that's what I love. That's why I love hardcore music, is it did that, at least at that, for me. Yeah. And now coming back around, I had the greatest probably 2 days of my life at This Is Hardcore. 2 summers ago, it was like I had been disconnected from hardcore. Oh my God. I'm jealous. That's how we
Florida life.
Glorious. Yeah, I have this funny cup, speaking of which. Can you guys read it?
What is it? I need glasses.
It says, I think you can't read it because it's backwards anyway.
Oh, forget that.
It says,
I got my GD.
So hard.
Oh. now, let me ask you this. Okay, so, we just talking about just in general, music, how it affects you in a spiritual way, and even a hardcore show, we could, a lot of people described it in many ways, and many different people as, a very spiritual, what do you call it, experience, even from moshing. It looks like how Native Americans or used to dance around. You could take a lot of similarities, to, how people worshipped and kind of did tribe-like things together. You could see that at a hardcore show. Mm-hmm. You were in a band that took that, and now you based your whole band around spirituality, right? Does that make sense? When you started the band, or when you guys decided to do the band with 108, was the main goal? Was you're like, we're here, we're gonna do a hardcore band and spread the word of this?
Well, it was the guy that started 108 is Vic DeCara.
Vic,
yeah. So Vic was in Inside Out.
Yeah.
And all of us were in hardcore bands. So I was already I had already done.
So where were you before that? Yeah, because that's what I wanted to lead into.
Okay, so when I was in high school, I played bass in this band called All Fall Down, which was the end of high school, which is just an Albany kind of it was a hardcore, it was kind of more toward it's a little pop, more power punk or something. Uh-huh. So I don't want to say that because Mike Justin, who's my favorite person, told me he hates power. It wasn't that though, in case he's never going to listen to this anyway, but
yeah,
because he has to hear me talk all the time, and he's probably done with that. But and then first I was in when I was 14 and 15, I sang in a hardcore band, straight up hardcore band. We only played one show.
Oh, so we
played with Underdog and Wolfpack.
Wow, you had a real show. That's a fucking.
Yeah, we had a show. We got to play a show at the Hibernians.
Yeah.
And it felt like a momentous occasion. And then our guitar player moved to Wisconsin, and the band broke up. And then I was in All Fall Down, and then Buddy from Stigmata replaced me on bass when I went to college. And then I was in this band called Growing Up Skipper, which was a proto Riot Girl band. I was never a Riot Girl or anything, but the girls, I played guitar, so they invited me, and I was like, okay. And we put out a 7-inch, and then that was right before I was a Krishna. But I was also in this band called The Giving Tree, which was Lars from I just played in a lot of bands. I always tried to do bands.
I didn't know you played in that many bands.
Yeah. And then, so I had just done Growing Up Skipper. Probably we got invited to go on tour with Bikini Kill or something, who I didn't know anything about. And then I was like, no, I'm a Krishna now, so I got to give up the material world. And in Spin Magazine, it was chosen as Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon's favorite 7-inch of whatever it was, 1991. So it probably would have been cool, but I wasn't really into it, to be honest. It was like ABC No Rio, and that like wasn't my
Yeah.
thing. And it was like all these like there were like New York hardcore had shifted, and then there was all this like weird punk rockers, and I was like,
Yes.
who are these people? And
Yeah, it was a
why are they
weird
all
time.
yelling at me about everything? And I was always eating the wrong thing and saying the wrong thing, and it was like so I didn't really fit in with that group so much. So then, like, I moved to the Krishna farm, and then Vic kind of got into Krishna, and then he just like started 108, and it was like, you know, there was a bunch of hardcore kids that were like living in the temple. So, like, like they invited me to play, and at the time, you write about what you're thinking about and doing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were like, oh, we're going to convert people to this. It was just like that's where we were at.
Yeah.
And so and a lot of the lyrics for 108 are like more like just what him and what Rob were like going through at the time, like just in general, but definitely had some influence of like Krishna consciousness and all of that. I mean, everybody like wanted to be the Cro-Mags, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I hear that. You know what else I hear a lot in that first record is Deftones.
Is what?
I hear Deftones in it.
Do you?
Yeah. One of the tracks, I forget, I'll tell you later. I got to see the name of the track, but I was hearing it and I was like, yo, this sounds like Deftones. I bet you they were listening to Deftones, but maybe not. But I was hearing it. I could hear where you was,
yeah,
some of the best wishes,
like,
some of the best wishes kind of I could hear.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with 108. This is what bugs me out about 108 because we talk, maybe we've talked about it or maybe not, but I don't even think we've played. And if we did, it was maybe a handful of times. On one hand, we've played together shows, 108 and Madball, if we even played together.
I don't think we did.
Exactly. I don't think we did. That's what I'm saying.
It was like what happened was like 108 was happening, and then you know how the scene has like it's kind of like a river, but it has these like little tributaries. So we were like, I mean, like, I was telling Mike the other day that you're Mike, your drummer, and sometimes our drummer.
Yeah, I was gonna say our drummer.
Yeah, I was telling him, like, for me, I didn't make the separation. I didn't make the distinction. There was like, whatever shows were happening in New York City, I went to all of them. So Crown of Thorns, Madball, Marauder,
Yeah.
Texas is the reason. Like, I didn't make a distinction. Those to me were Quicksand, all those early 90s. I went to whatever show was happening. I mean, honestly, like one of my, still to this day, Killing Time, one of the greatest hardcore bands ever.
Yeah.
Well, like all those bands to me, and I did love Bad Brains. You can hear a lot of Bad Brains in that 108 record. And I didn't write the music to that, I played, but that's really all Vic writing.
Right. Yeah, he's a talented guy.
So yeah, so basically for me, like I didn't see the distinction. So I feel like we were just like a hardcore band, and the lyrical content of it was that, but we were also like, what we found out was that it did actually attract people to the path.
Yeah.
People like more, and the Krishna consciousness movement is such a weird, so many different elements, and there's so much we could talk about it. But like that little section of hardcore, there were tons of Krishna kids. I mean, John Joseph used to like go pass out food on like in Tompkins. I think he still does it.
Yeah.
And that became, we kind of idolized that. We wanted to be like that. We wanted to be and we would go do it later. I mean, we would go pass out food, and there were like a lot about it that just attracted me. And it also gave me the second piece. So like hardcore lets you deal with all your anger, and you throw everything on the table, and you like make lots of loud noise, and like it's like really aggression, and like there's this like this sort of like organized chaos that you understand, but you can be totally chaotic in. And then at the end of that, after you do that for a long time, you kind of go, now what? Or at least I did. And so 108 was like the segue a little bit. Maybe like you write, I think a lot of people that have that now what thing, they write more complicated music, or it becomes more melodic, or they do like hip hop, or they do like something else to fulfill some other part of them. Like I actually love all that, like that record that, I don't know, is that like a Madball record that has like gunshots, whatever that song.
Yeah.
That like
Gosh,
like
that's one of.
Strats and Freddie and that.
Yeah. That's
and,
Freddie
like,
shit. Freddie shit. Yep.
I fucking love that. It was
Yeah.
cool to see the little like offshoots of like what
Yeah.
people did. So 108, that's for 108, it was that was the way it went kind of with that. Like just that it was like spiritualized music,
Yeah.
spiritualized
Because
lyrics.
it was weird for the one thing I do give 108 from not knowing the dudes a lot and the band a lot of that time was that the it's for being such a Krishna band, like, and you might have been, it might have been seen to some people, oh, they're just a Krishna band, whatever. There was a lot of people that were cool with the band that weren't Krishna bands. Like in the past, other straight edge or some straight edge Krishna bands were not as liked. I don't know if maybe, the people in the band were cool or were just everybody, because I know everybody seemed cool, what, not separating themselves from everybody else. And I also think maybe the music, since they had
Yeah,
some
I feel
heavier
like
shit,
the
was
music,
more.
it really held up over time.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like Vic is just such a genius music player, and then like our bass player too. The two of them are like so brilliant. Like music writing, it's like if you're in a band, you can listen to that, and it's not like gimmicky. It's just
Yeah,
good,
exactly.
well
Yeah.
written. But I also feel like there was like that whole, and I want to be diplomatic.
Don't be diplomatic. That's one thing.
There got to be that time in the history of hardcore where there was this like little bubble of like jack straight edge kids who did actually have the intention of like separating
Yeah.
and also placing themselves above. So I couldn't even be part of that because they weren't accepting female members.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
I was like, but I feel like that that kind of colored and changed and in some ways created a lot of like disunification of the scene. Like it sort of fell into these different things. And I always felt like one of the things that was cool about New York hardcore was that it was like so diverse.
That's what I loved about it. That to me
And there
was,
was this like total unity. Like you would just like, you would just you just go to every show. You didn't like differentiate. Like if and I have a special soft spot in my heart for all of the like super tough guy, like hardcore guys. Like I have to say that there was a time when like Crown of Thorns was playing at this show at what was that place? Coney Island. That
yeah,
was
Coney Island.
Parks. And I was newly pregnant. And Isaac literally took me downstairs, got me a chair. Like, you know how hard it is to find a chair?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like he got me something to eat. He's like bringing me water.
Well, first of all, that's already a
I
miracle that
remember
Ezek got you anything.
It was a really big moment for me. It was like I was like, wow, these guys are like, and I actually really appreciate that kind of like old school chivalry as much of a like raging feminist as I am.
Yeah.
Like, let's not do away with that really beautiful part of like the masculine world. And I always felt like all of you guys, like I lump you in with the tough guys, really in adult life turn out to be kind of like really good fathers, really good husbands, like all the things that you kind of think would be amazing, really good partners or kind of good people. I feel like this is not diplomatic, but I saw that group of people become the type of humans that I thought were good humans, and I saw a lot of those kind of like holier than thou straight edge people become humans that I don't want to hang with.
Yeah.
Not good family people, not, and so like for me, I just said it. I wasn't diplomatic.
Yeah, no, and but it really is that, people think, I tell people just because you wear a suit doesn't mean, you're better than the guy who's in shorts and, vice versa. We all know that because, what you wear, we all know that personally. I know that for myself, how people, if they're pulling me off the line at the airport. First of all, I've been traveling for 26 years. I thousands of times, thousands and thousands and thousands of times I get pulled off randomly. I know how it goes. Trust me.
And
But one thing,
hardcore is supposed to see through that. And
yeah,
I feel like,
what I know at the end of the day is no matter what, even I talk crazy, I may look crazy, but at the end of the day, I know I'm a good dude, or my goal in life is to try to be as good as I could be, especially for my children. So I know that. So and that's all I give a fuck about. That my sons have when I'm gone, they say, yo, I had the best father. He did everything he could do. That's all I give a fuck about. That's
and
all
you're
I give a
doing
fuck
it,
about.
man. I like
You
see
know,
your like school projects. I see
I'm
your
trying. It's not easy, and I
meditations,
try.
your
All I can tell
transformation.
I tell everybody out there, all we could do is try. The minute you give up, that's when you become the piece of shit parent, mother or father. When you give up, you
Yeah,
know, nobody. There's no handbook on this shit. I learned that. I'm learning that every day. There's no handbook on this.
none.
But the
Yeah.
minute we give up on them. Now they're lost, and that's all our fault. And while I'm alive, that's not happening to my sons. I
Well, what
made that.
I think it boils down to, and this is really interesting, is how you manage your ego. So like I feel like you're a person who it's not that you don't have like a presence because you have like it's actually an iconic presence, but it's that you're able to give up certain things for the benefit of your children. And I feel like there are people and like witnessing it now in retrospect when you're like a super egomaniac and you have to be the only one and the best and everyone's below you, that translates later when you're a parent into how that like goes down. And so like of course when I see you and the other like tough guy New York hardcore guys who weren't about the ego, it turned out to be making better human beings and better adults kind of. It's kind of interesting to watch the cycle because it's been a 30-year cycle and it's like,
You know what I learned from being on the guy side of it, since it's very, a lot of this world is very male oriented. And I got to see, because I was one of the few guys blessed to have a mother and a father
yeah,
around and supportive and all that stuff. I was one of the few. And I saw the tattooed face, the pit bulls on their heads. I saw all these people melt when my mother was around. Because I seen why they all called my mom's mom and how they would, and the things they would do for her. And you know why? Because a lot of them didn't have that at home. And I saw, how much that matters in the upbringing. And I learned from my mother, from me personally bringing some of the craziest looking people or whatever. I can, in my house, we never denied anybody a bed or a meal. Never in our existence. Not my mother, not my father. And if they found out I did that, I would catch a beating if I ever denied anybody one of those things, or if I ate first. In my house is this: if there's one bean and there's 4 people, we're gonna cut that bean in 4, or nobody eats. That's just how it's gonna happen. It don't matter if there's 3 guests and that's how we were. And my mother would say this: I would bring a friend over. Hey, Ma, could this guy stay over? What happened? Oh, he don't got nowhere to stay. Where's his parents? Well, and she would always ask that before saying, oh, he went to jail. He just got home from jail. Oh, he's fucked up. I don't want him in my house. She would right away. And I learned that. Trace it back to the parents and you could fucking find out 9 out of 10 times where the crisscross happened.
Yeah.
Not that you could have 2 perfect parents and still a kid could be messed up. That could happen. But a lot of times she would ask that, where's the parent? Oh, well, he lives with his father and his mom threw him out. Or mom, you start, and then right away she'd be like, you stay here. You don't leave till you have somewhere to stay. That's your fridge. This is your house. That's it. And that's how it was in my house. And I learned that man, I'm really lucky. I remember this. I give you this one. This is for the kiddies. I remember I was like 13 years old, 12 years old, and my man MQ, my brother, I was pissed at my mom for something. I was like, fuck that bitch. In my head, I said something like that, like some real foul shit, because I was like angry. And I remember him, we're 11, 12, we're little kids. Nobody's having no deep, talks about parents. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, yo, you shouldn't say that. Cause that's like his mom's too. My mom raised him too. He goes, yo, you shouldn't say that. Yo, your mom loves you. He had his mother, but maybe it wasn't as close as he would have liked it, like my mother was with him. And I remember he checked me. I was 11 years old, 12 years old. And that stuck with me. And I was, angry, getting mad at your parents. And then later on, you find out, you're like, wow, people that don't have it want it. And I was like, man, I had it. I was spoiled. And then I said, okay, now that I know I was spoiled, let me not be a spoiled brat and use it in the right way. Like, give it back. That's what my sons are. Like, they
So
make me want to give it back.
do you kind of model your parenting after your mom?
A billion percent. I never could even come close to what she did. I try to pick everything I do is everything, at least in my head, the best of what my father is and everything my mother.
Yeah.
My father has too many quirks, but he has some good things. But my mother is like, she raised 2 boys. My sister passed away, but she had a girl. She raised 2 boys. I wasn't the easiest boy to raise. She came to this country with nothing. She taught herself how to read. She gave, she supported, she made it happen. That's why I always joke and, oh, girl pop, I really back that because my mom's is my everything. I base my whole everything over her, and I grew up with a sister. So I know what it is to have women around, and I know the importance of, a mother. And
yeah, I would see you post the different things about your mom cooking and your mom, baking things. And I thought to myself, there's an author, her name is Zadie Smith, and she wrote the book, The Autographed Man. And she's like I don't know so much about her, but she was kind of like a feminist writer. And she said that like we shouldn't get confused and throw away the value of these things that women have always done. That being a mother should be empowering, being an amazing cook should be empowering, being nurturing, opening your home, all these different things. She's like, don't get confused and think that's not like this powerful part of what women can do. And so and I kind of learned that in the yoga world, because you're trying to define like what's it to be a woman in the modern world or whatever, because it's all new, we're redefining it. And she was saying, keep that. And when I would see thinking about that, I would think about that when I'd see like posts you made, or thinking about like the Kohler brothers, the beautiful picture of their gorgeous French mother. And she raised these 4 boys and opened her home up to everybody. And I think I would kind of like think to myself, like, I mean, that just happened with their mom, but I would think to myself, like, oh, I hope I am like that. I hope my value when I'm like an older woman is that my son and my daughters like want to come home and they want to feel like, to me, that's an expression of like feminism as well. It's not, for me, it is like that I could do that like that. And I would see that about your mom. I'm sorry you lost your mom this summer. That's
no.
Imagine, but I feel like I watched some of her like spirit enter you, and then you became this like different type of father, and it's been amazing to like watch. I mean, of course, I'm like watching it through Instagram, but I mean,
no, but yeah,
I see, like how you changed your relationship to taking care of yourself and your beautiful kids, and how you're so present for them, and I think it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that's what I took. Again, that's why I try to say like, I'm not the best with my words, and I'm very aggressive and bluntish with some of the words I choose. But that's what I mean, like kind of what you're saying, like when we talk about, a woman cooking or a woman being affectionate. Exactly what you said or what that lady said, women shouldn't you take that as a form of weakness or as a negative in your makeup. I'm like, yeah, a woman could work the forklift like a man, but on top of that, you could do these other things that a man cannot do. And I'm saying that being a man, knowing, being a single father, knowing there's some things that men are just not built that we don't have the same way. And I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about like even how we show love to our children. I'm very affectionate, but it's different than how a mother grabs. It's different. And for the situation, it's different why you would grab your kid and say, it's okay, than why I would.
Right.
And that's the thing, the plus of what makes a woman that much amazing, that, we know we could do it. It's old news. A woman could do everything a guy could do. We know that. It's been proved. We know that. But now the extra stuff is the stuff that I feel women some feminists, and I don't want feminists to come after me, but come after me. I don't give a fuck. My point being is, because it ain't a diss, it's like, saying, wow, cooking, holding a family. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because not all men could do that. And I'm saying that as being a man who's forced into that role. And
it's interesting watching that because my younger brother too for a long time was like a single dad, and it was like it's so funny because he like braids his daughter's hair and he's like doing all this stuff, and I'm actually really proud of him because it was like a little bit of a stretch. It was new, but I feel like I, it's like I guess maybe because we're like I'm getting close to being 50 that like things are coming full circle and how I like defined what things were. What is hardcore, what is yoga for me, what is like, feminism or whatever. It's so interesting how you just kind of settle into it and come to this different place where a lot of the stuff that you were like pushing away or rejecting, you just go like, you know what? Actually, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, like the fact that it's so funny. Like I used to be so self-conscious that I wasn't like as good at the guitar as Vic, who's like, nobody's as good at the guitar as Vic. And then, I mean, there are other people, but he's so, so good that I felt like I don't want people to know because then they'll think girls can't play the guitar.
Yeah.
In the last few years, I'm like, fuck it. I don't need to be that good. That's not my role in the band. Like I do something else. I'm just like sort of owning that and being like exactly who I am and feeling like it's enough, and that's kind of cool. That's like kind of some cool shit that took a long time for me to get to.
Yeah.
Sure, and
that's everybody, I think, because the same thing, stuff that I was hung up in my 30s when I got in my 40s. I've been on that I don't give a fuck shit. I've been on that.
You were mastering that long. You were a guru for that long.
Yeah. I'll take that title.
You're 47?
47.
You're my little brother then.
I'm 47, but throw the teen part at the end. 47. Okay, that's how I judge them.
20th anniversary of your 20.
Exactly.
Year.
Like I tell people, we're not getting old, we're getting ripe. We're ready to be picked off the tree and eaten.
Yes, exactly. Do you want to drink, like, this is not a straight edge analogy. Do you want to drink wine or?
I'll drink coconut.
Yeah. So anyway, I think all of that stuff. And then also just like seeing this whole like thing come full circle and having time to like talk it out and think about all of what we did. It's been great. And I also I just want to say, I never knew Mike Judge before all of this, and I wouldn't have known him. And
I want to get Mike. If you're listening out there, you got to jump on this.
Favorite. He is like the guy is like seriously like I can't even tell you like the depth of humanity like in that one person and the brilliance. Like, guy's fucking brilliant. And like actually it's been fun too because Craig has been working for us. And he's like a complete madman. And
he's a nut. You got a nut squad there.
We got a nut squad. And the funny thing is Craig's like working with most of the people that work in the warehouse are my daughter's age. And he's like best friends with my daughter's boyfriend. So funny.
Yeah, tell your daughter, watch out. He's going to rob them as best friends. They're going to be
just like having time to like really sit down and eat dinner every night. And like we've been having Mikey the other Mike stay with us, and like just the like Steve and Mike and the Mikes and I and then Mike's wife, we have these like meals around the table, and it's like I'm sure they like do that in European hardcore, but I don't know if they were doing that in America before this. And I'm like, I'm kind of loving that, I will be amped when bands are playing. Of course I'll be amped for that. It'll be like when we see each other again, it's going to be like, I mean, we're going to be like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be intense. But it's been nice to kind of sit back and just.
You know what you got there? You got like a little hardcore Waco going on in that house. Yo, shout out to all you hardcore Wacos up there.
Yeah, seriously.
And Steve, you know who Steve is? He's the guy running the show. He's playing the guitar. Exactly. Printing shirts like a psycho. He has long hair now.
He's married to 3 other women.
Exactly. That's where he's at now. They're printing shirts. He has them printing shirts. Mikey's selling ammo. Mike Judge is freaking taking care of the chickens.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun. It's actually been kind of fun. I always try to like keep the PMA and just like sometimes
like
it's been hard, but I try to look at the bright side and see all the good stuff that's come out
yeah,
of it. And
like
you know,
the one thing for sure, I agree with you in that I'm enjoying too, and for myself also, it made everybody, you had to show your cards during this COVID shit.
yeah,
Either, you're gonna just become nothing and just wait for life to pick up, or I hear somebody say it a lot, and they were like, yo, if you don't come out of this COVID without a new skill, you wasted your time, which
yeah,
means exactly, you could have learned a new language, you could have learned how to play chess. There's so many things, like, because of this COVID, I brought the podcast back because
which is so cool. Like, I mean, you're doing like this, you're like, podcasts are like how history is recorded now.
yes,
So it's like a historical record that you're
yeah,
making.
and,
Steve
and
and I were really into doing puzzles for a while. It was
yeah,
like, we were like,
yeah.
every night we get home, we're like, okay, it's time to do the
Like,
puzzle.
yes, yeah,
We're
no,
putting
and
the
it's good.
puzzles to the
This,
table.
what I love about this was, besides that, I love talking shit, and what better time than this for me to reconnect with friends.
Yeah,
One, we feed the scene, and when I said that a couple of times, and I don't mean me personally, I mean like everybody pulling out content, and the live streams. We keep the hardcore underground alive by we're showing, even with no shows, we're gonna keep this shit alive. We're gonna get into other avenues. We're gonna web stream. We're gonna put out podcasts. We're gonna do collab T-shirts. We're gonna do all that shit till we could play again. And
right. I mean, I
I'm
hope people don't roll over.
yeah,
They just
exactly,
don't. That's not the way.
exactly. It's not, and it's definitely ain't the way. This shit was built on that, not rolling over. That's why I try to explain to people when people just give in, without getting political, and you just give in, you don't belong in this world. Not in this world, because this world is about not giving in. Forget on what the subject is, that's all on you. But not giving in is what makes us different than every other music scene.
I
You know,
think too, and just like, it's like almost like in some ways we welcome the challenge. Like, there was like this couple of weeks where we're like, okay, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like? And then it was like, this is what it's going to look like. And we reformed it.
yeah,
And, it's been kind of interesting. And I feel like the stuff that we created now, like, I hope the cool, like, live stream stuff, I hope the podcast, I hope it doesn't go away,
yeah,
because for me, it's like another new format of expression, like, in addition to shows, that
yeah.
is great and fantastic. And thanks for having me, because I was like super flattered that you invited me. I was like, oh my God,
No, well, yeah, no, I was
I
like,
can die now.
no, I was like, what better, I was like, somebody had mentioned like a couple of weeks, like a week ago, somebody, and I was like, again, I don't think about who I get, I really don't think. I put out, sometimes people pop up and I'm like, oh shit, somebody I feel like I could bug out with, all right, I could get them on. Like,
Yeah,
I'm doing another one later, because I wrote down a couple names of people I would like. I did that months ago before I started, so I wouldn't forget. And I barely follow that list because somebody pops up. I kind of go on how time goes me. I take it like that.
yeah, spontaneity.
Yeah. So I had a couple that were planned, and then like right now, later on, I'm getting because he was right. I didn't even think about it. The singer of my first band, an old friend, my boy Cheeky, he's actually going to be the one after this episode.
Nice.
And I never even thought about him. And I'm talking with him, and I'm like, oh shit, yo, I'm talking to Cheeky. That's my old band. We could, we have a lot of history and some cool shit from growing up. And I'm like, Cheeky, let's jump on this. And so
Right, it's fun. I mean, and it's like fun too, because like, I listened to the one with like Scott Fogel, like early on in the beginning, and I was like, you know what? I don't really know that much about him, even though like I kind of like knew who he was the whole
yeah,
entire time. And then like I always assume people don't remember me, but I saw him at like when they play with Cro-Mags, and he was like remembered me, and I was like excited. And then I feel like there's a lot like I learned about people that was like really interesting to me about them, like on a personal level. And so like I think what you're doing is important work, and just keep going because it's great.
thank you. I'm just having fun with it. And again, if it's talking shit, I'm in. You know that you've been in
That's your Shakti.
that's my I got a coral belt. If you know jujitsu, I have a coral belt and shit talking. I have I don't know in Krishna language if it means I got a certain color robe or extra arms or whatever. Shout out to Blood Clot and all you
More
Krishnas out
arms.
there. More arms. I'm like peeking.
It's. I'll tell you what it's called. It's called the founder Acharya. You're the Acharya.
Of shit talking.
By
Yeah,
example, Acharya
exactly.
of shit talk.
I'm the 30 arms of shit talking. Shout out to all my Krishnas out there. But listen, but okay, right now we know Equal Vision is doing. I want to get Steve on. You got to tell him, put in the good word for me. No,
Okay,
but hit him up.
I have a
A landline. Yeah, tell him what's up. I definitely want to get him on and talk some shit with him. And but I'm Equal Vision is rocking. What's the plan? All right, COVID. Let's say it starts opening up. Any plan? And I know you were doing a couple Equal Vision, a couple 108 shows.
Yeah.
In the past, that some shows were popping up. Any plans to do that? And when things open up again, what's the move?
Well, I talked to Rob, and we decided that we haven't told everybody in 108, but we're going to play shows. But we thought, let's chill out for a minute, because let's let the bands that actually totally have to make money and they're living by playing shows, let's let them play a bunch of shows. And we do it. We just play here and there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he actually said, let's let those tours happen, because there's people that rely on this for making.
And who said that? Rob?
Rob said that, and I agree.
Tell Rob I said what's up.
Yeah.
And good for him, because, and I really mean that, because a lot of people, that's already showing, a thing called consideration. Another thing I learned from my mother. You could tell when people thinking that
the community. So like we were like, all right, because we've been people like write to us all the time, like, can you guys play shows? So he said, let's let that happen, because there's going to be a year where it's going to be like you guys, like all the bands,
everybody
make their living from it. Let's let those bands play, and then after that, let's do. And we usually go do 3 shows like here or whatever, but we'll keep playing. I mean, I love it. I have like the greatest freaking time ever playing hardcore music. So we got invited to Scandinavia. We probably play some festivals like in Europe in the summer. We share a drummer with a really successful band called Madball.
With a real handsome
so we
bass
try
player.
That's priority goes to Madball, and then if there's spaces in between, then we play. But we feel we're doing it because we have a great time and everything, but we're not relying on it for our livelihood. So we're gonna kind of let that happen. But yeah, we'll play more shows, and I think we're gonna get into this now. I'm kind of like an Equal Vision merch now.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna keep doing stuff here. I'll add my yoga teaching back in. But I think we're hoping that once when touring kicks in, merch now is going to be printing insane amounts of T-shirts, because when bands go back on tour. So we're just kind of looking forward to that. But we've been able to kind of keep our the business going really well. The label's doing good. We're still printing tons of stuff. It kind of calmed down a little since the summer and fall. It was crazy. So we've been putting time into correcting stuff, making the mail order work better, just doing a better job, cleaning out the warehouse, all of those different things. And it's been kind of great. And we want to part of the reason we do all this is to keep people, we try to have a good, fair, ethical company. It's really funny because if you read sometimes you read these reviews people write online, and we're
let me tell you, if I went by reviews, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
the shit they said about us, forget it.
We decided that we're going to run a company where you get all your health insurance paid for by the company. We give people we just try to treat the workers well and pay them well, and
Steve, I'm coming.
Like a family, if you need to go because someone's sick or you got to do something, you go and you just deal with it. And the truth is the people that work for us are pretty loyal. They don't abuse it. So it goes good. It's like a family, and I've been glad to have somewhere to go all day. Work and
you guys got a good thing going there, and it's a good thing in a lot of ways. It's good for you guys.
Tries to mansplain hardcore to me in the coffee break room. I'm oh, really? Is that how hardcore works?
Yeah, no, but it's a great thing in a lot of in a lot of ways. It's something that you guys built up, and he busted his ass. Something that gave to the scene, and also gave back to him and to you guys, and
Yeah.
it's still going, and he's still able to give back, by again giving work and all that. That's a big thing. That's very big to me.
Yeah,
The
I
hooking
found
the work up.
worth it, and I was so glad that we, musicians that have been playing for like they don't have any other way to make
Yeah.
money, so we're just trying to like be supportive and like take care of our friends and family and like treat everyone here
Yeah.
well and like do that. So that's it.
But good shit. And where could anybody catch the yoga stuff? If they want to catch you, if they want to catch you floating like 3 feet above the ground somewhere, where could they catch you?
Well, I run a yoga teacher training in Saratoga, New York, and it's going to start again in the fall. So if you ever want to become a yoga teacher, or if you want to see me playing freaky chant music, that's always.
Yeah, you could.
I have a second life as a chant musician, which is
Yeah.
which is funny. And hardcore did teach me one thing. It taught me how to be an incredibly good social climber.
Yeah, and look
You
at
know,
they got.
hardcore, you're like, okay, who's this band? And like, I'm going to meet them. And I totally did that, like with chant music.
Oh, so you bogarted your way up,
like weaseling my way right to the
to
top.
headline the chant
Headline. I might play with the headlining guy. I do though.
show.
That's funny. The funny thing about it is, it's this guy Krishna Das, and sometimes I drum for him, but he goes to me one time. He goes, "So what's your deal? Like, what is this?" He knows all kinds of music. Like he liked to Clash and everything.
Yeah.
Like, what was like 108 all about? I'm like, it's kind of like hardcore music, but it's kind of like yoga.
Kind of.
He was just like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't know. He couldn't. But he actually changed his concert in New York so that it wouldn't conflict with the 108 show.
Wow.
Yeah, his manager was like, "Oh, I'm going to change that." He's like, whatever that was, he's like, "We're going to change it." And so I wound up then going the next weekend to the Cathedral of St. John, where they were having this giant chant thing and playing the mridanga drum. And I'm like,
Crazy.
"This is the weirdest 2 weekends in a row. I'm in a church now playing chant music."
Listen, say what you people can say what they want, but God bless America, because only in America some shit like that would happen.
Seriously.
Like exactly. It's a hardcore girl chanting in the church, in some church in New York City. Only in New York,
And the funniest thing is he's like a Jewish guy, like chanting these Hindu things at a church. And
exactly.
Only in New York.
Exactly. That's what makes, where we live. But again, without getting political, a lot of fuck shit, but that's one of the beautiful things about our country, because I love
agree on that one. I think
I love our country no matter what,
Yeah.
and that's some of the reasons I love it, for the characters we have and the shit. But
do that, and it's like, what?
But listen, I'm glad I was able to catch you. I'm glad you took time out. I'm glad that the big boss. I mean, you're the big boss behind the big boss, because I know all about Lorena Bobbitt. If you guys don't know who Lorena Bobbitt is, go look that up.
I mean, on this account, I have to say I really cannot take credit for the success of your merch. Now that's really 100% Steve. I really got to give him all the credit for that. Packages. It's him.
No, of course, he's a beast. We know that, but we know how it works. It takes behind every great man, there's a great woman, and vice versa.
Yeah,
it's that balance you need. So, but listen, I'm glad I had you on. I'm glad you tell everybody there I said what's up. Tell all the mics I said what's up. Tell Steve what's up. Tell Craig I said what's up. And one day I want to get you all on when you're all there, and I'm gonna pop in on you guys.
I'll get behind the camera. Yeah, we should do that. That would be really fun.
Let me know when everybody's gonna be there, and I'm gonna jump in and we'll do a quick little.
They're here, but they're like.
No, but we're
playing. Selling shirts off the thing. Other Mike Judge is like shipping. I think Craig isn't here today, but he's.
This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna let everybody now. They're gonna hear it when they hear this episode.
That's right. I mean,
but we're gonna set them up one day when they're gonna have to come to an emergency meeting in the back.
Yeah, don't tell and don't say it here, because then they'll know, and then they'll just come in and they'll be.
All right, guys, if you're listening to this, act like you didn't hear this, okay? You didn't hear this part. So, but listen,
all right,
tell everybody what's up. I'm glad you were able to jump on. Everybody, follow 108. Follow her on a chanagram. She's chanting all the time. Kate, we talk soon. Be safe. Tell my mic I love them. Tell all the mics I love them. Anyway, tell everybody out there I love them.
I will.
And we talk soon, all right? And I'll send you all the info when this shit gets posted.
Awesome. Thank you so
All
much.
right, Kate.
Okay, I love you, Hoya.
All right, peace out.
Okay,
One love,
bye.
Kate.